Good, that puts us back on schedule for Steve Fogg. Steve.
Nobody's making any motions for me.
No, this is a meeting, so this is about Brown Street.
Right.
Okay. Come on up and tell us what you guys are thinking of doing.
So two things. First of all, thank you guys for volunteering also. It's like to be a volunteer on a committee, so it's a challenge. If we get continued to May 6th also, I don't know if we eventually do, because I don't know what happens.
This is not a hearing.
This is not a hearing. Okay.
This is a meeting.
So, I'm Peter Hill, chair of the Traffic and Sidewalk Committee, and we're looking at traffic and we're looking at sidewalks. And when it came to sidewalks, we tried to prioritize, what would the townspeople want, what's important. So our first priority was really a safe way for children to get to school, and that was one of the priorities. The other priority is try and complete some legs of the existing sidewalks that occur in town, access to town center, and also access to transportation facilities. Because we feel that would be the best benefit for the people in town, is to have those kind of walks. There are a number of walkways in town, and the first priority that the committee decided that was important was the Brown Winter sidewalk area, because that connects directly up to the middle and high school campuses, and eventually, hopefully, the traffic light that will be put up at Brown Street. And we're connecting the sidewalk going past Whiteman just to Route 30, so that this way, that new development, there's some kids that live there will be able to hopefully walk to school, and also going on to the gardens where there are a number of kids. And I've driven on Brown Street and seen kids walking on the street, and it's really not a safe way for kids to be walking on the street going to school. So our priority was, number one, was Brown Street, and that's what we're here to present today, is show you. And Steve has basically tentative plans. We've tried to be sensitive to stone walls, sensitive to trees and poles. Obviously, you can't remove all the barriers. I mean, you have to work with the planning and hopefully make it so it's safe, effective, looks good, and so Steve?
Yes. So what I've got is a number of sheets which we can look at, but I didn't know if there was time or inclination. I also drove the area very slowly and made a video, so if you want to see what the roadside looks like now, I can put that up on the... Yep. Magic wire.
Any questions of me while I'm setting that up?
No. I don't think you guys.
So how many planners do you interview?
So we've interviewed 6 so far.
What do you like?
We've got it down to, right now it's at 2. We'll see.
Hopefully people can hit the ground.
Right.
That's the idea. It might help, yeah.
Those lights? You know how to... Obviously, we're looking coming from South Ave, going down Broad Street, heading to there.
Yeah, well, this is just a little outside of the survey limits. We're getting more survey. But we'll be planning to put it on the south side of Brown Street. This is at the Route 30. This is the Whiteman Tennis Center driveway right here. The good news is that for the most part of this, we can stay within the right-of-way. We don't need easements except for a couple spots. And also, I think what I think is minor exceptions, we're able to avoid significant trees and stone walls. So
You're going to be on the right-hand side there where the...
Be on the right-
On the
20
right-hand
mile
side, on
an
the
hour
south side of the street.
yeah.
That's the south side?
So yes,
Yeah.
we're heading towards Winter Street in this.
Whiteman's on your right.
Is the
That's the
sidewalk,
church.
does the sidewalk start yet?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So does it go along next to all these trees?
Like right at the curb.
Right at the curb, yeah. Apologize
Slow
for
down.
this.
I know, he's
I
driving
was only
way
going
too-
10 miles an
he's-
hour.
He's driving way too fast.
Well, I can pause at any time.
Must have been above the speed limit.
Yeah. So you have to, what about that pole? You missed that, huh?
This one, yeah, we're able to stay on the street side of that.
Let
Snow-
us know when there's something
The
that you
snow,
need
the
to.
snow's gonna be out of the way.
This is the Whiteman driveway. So what we have here is sneaking just behind this pole. We can stay within the right of, no, I'm sorry, we can't quite stay within the right of way here, so we'll be seeking, we need to talk to Whiteman anyway because of the, on the Winter Street side, we've got a little bit. So we're outside the right of way here, either that or we have to move the pole. We're trying to avoid
Yeah.
doing that.
So you're behind the pole.
We're hoping to go behind the pole and ask Whiteman for an easement. Let us go behind the pole.
We're behind the pole, but then we scoot out to the road, coming along towards the next pole.
What happens here? What happens here?
This is
So you're off the road.
behind the pole.
There's a fire hydrant right out there.
Yeah.
Where's Whiteman?
This is right, yeah, so we passed this.
You passed, are you going, oh, I'm sorry. So retain utility pole, it says here.
Yeah.
Unless,
I'm looking for the height
No,
of it. I'm
he's
not
not
seeing
that
it.
far down. You're right at the, just before you hit the
Before
bend
the
of the road.
curve?
Yeah, so we're here. So I don't see the hydrant, but that, you might have to move that. Or else-
So
maybe
you're going to the right of the
to the
pole.
right of the pole.
yeah,
But to the left of the hydrant, or?
Well,
I think we do go to the left of the
I
hydrant.
think we
There's
do.
plenty
yeah.
of room to
I think
left
there's
of the
enough
hydrant.
room there. To the right of the pole, to the left of the hydrant.
What about the swale there?
Well, it looks like one, but it's really a kind of more of a snowbank. It's pretty level there. There's not really much. And I looked at all this with Michelle, and the only thing she sees is, of course, on the left side it's very wet. So we're in the buffer zone. We're going to be going upstairs in a bit to talk to the Conservation Commission informally about that.
Are they going to ask you for replication, or what do you think?
No, I don't think so, because we're, like I say, we're just in the buffer zone. So
You're
we'll have to
100-foot
We'll
buffer.
have to file, but we'll do erosion controls. I don't think we'll have to do any replication.
What sort of curbing are you predicting or suggesting?
What we typically are using these days is bituminous, vertical bituminous curving, as opposed to the granite. It's less
cheaper.
durable. Yeah. it's
It
cheaper.
didn't
And
work
also
out very
allows
well on
bicy-
Highland
Also
Street.
allows bicycles a little bit to exit onto
It didn't work out very well on Highland Street. It's in bits and pieces all along
Yeah,
the way.
Highland Street
You know,
is
it
the
doesn't
best.
last more than 4 or 5 years. The snow cones just chew it to pieces.
Yeah.
What is it going to be, a Cape Cod berm, or?
Well, we try to make it not that, because a car that's out of control can much more easily go across a Cape Cod berm and hit a pedestrian as opposed to if it's a vertical curve. So
What's a Cape Cod berm?
it's
Slope.
sloped.
You can't do a slope?
You can, but it's, I don't know if the, you know, I just.
It's not as safe.
Not as
That's what
safe.
he's-
Really?
I mean, if you had a little bit of a,
It's a give and take, because it's also safety for bicyclists to be able to see.
I know.
So-
if we're able to, in places where we're able to have the sidewalk off
Right.
the road a little bit with a grass strip or some kind of a safety zone, then a Cape Cod berm might be more appropriate.
So, but you'd be transitioning them from Cape Cod to not Cape Cod, or how would
Well, I
that
think
work?
mostly along here, because of the constraints with the right-of-way, we're pretty much going to just be right at the edge of the road. So we'll be talking about vertical bituminous all along.
Right now, it's a Cape Cod berm.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So you're on the left of that roadside,
I'll back up.
or you're going to just move the sign?
I'll move the sign, yeah. That's how it is. We're staying right in this corridor here.
What happens here?
This pole, just before the bend, says retained, so
I don't know.
it looks awful tight, though. It
I
doesn't.
don't think you got room in there for a
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Maybe to the south side.
The sidewalk is 6 feet, did you say?
6 feet, yeah, nominally 6 feet, maybe. In some places it might have to be 5.
Yeah, that one, that's a little sketchy.
Yeah, that could be tricky.
There's a hydrant right in there. You're gonna be right up against the hydrant?
I'm actually on the next sheet at this point.
Yes, you are.
You're behind the hydrant.
Actually, that last poll we just passed, it's calling for remove and reset, so we're gonna have to move that pole.
Move
Was that
the
on
pole.
Whiteman land? Was that one of the ones we were talking about maybe going behind?
I think that's in front of Gurren's.
Well, I think he would give us an easement to go behind it too.
Well, are you in front of the hydrant?
Let's see, I'm not so sure why I'm not seeing it.
Why not showing the hydrant?
I don't think you got room between the hydrant and the curb.
We have to move a hydrant, we have to move a hydrant.
All right.
Also, he said he's willing to give us easements, so
What happens there?
it's gonna start going into the roadway. We're gonna actually come onto the
Whoa,
road.
whoa, whoa, back up.
Car does reverse
What about that?
That big
Looks
tree.
like you're gonna start to get into the vegetation here.
So we're going around, we're actually going onto the roadway, put the sidewalk here, we're taking, what you told me, a piece of the roadway. We're going in front of the bushes and taking the roadway. The roadway's wide enough to be able to do that.
Oh,
Here's the edge of road right here, so we'll actually be narrowing the intersection a little bit in order to make that corner.
To go around the bushes.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a part of the roadway to protect the vegetation.
The day I was out there, the DPW was doing some sweeping, so.
Was that Winter Street that we passed?
This is Winter coming up
right
What
here.
was that other little intersection?
That was a driveway to the driveway to the property.
Okay.
So all this will be along, the path will be along the roadway to protect the, are you going straight?
you're
Right,
still,
straight,
you're
yeah.
still on the street here.
Now it's still,
So at this point, what we're proposing is to wrap the corner with the sidewalk, so it's off to the right, and then have a crosswalk just down here, and come in behind the wall, we'll have to go through the wall right at this point
we have
here.
to have a wall break.
But we can stay within the right of way, so then we'll be proceeding along behind this
Okay, so
This
you
low
need
stone wall.
we need to have a scenic road period, looks like.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, just for your information, the property owner, even though this is within the right of way, this property owner is dead set against it.
Which one?
This one over here, in this corner over
Looks like
there.
No.
vacant land, but there's actually a house.
That's your house, and that property owner is going to be vehemently against it.
Okay.
Quick question, having the crosswalk set around the corner so far, is that safer or more dangerous if, people are going down Brown and turning right on Winter Street?
It's a stop control, so.
Okay.
Presumably, the pedestrian's just gonna have to be aware, particularly coming in this direction.
Right, I was thinking, making that turn, you've got that blind spot where
Yeah.
you're posting the vehicle
Yeah.
that's going to be right there.
We may have to do some signage, advanced signage, to say crosswalk ahead or something. The idea being that we need to get over here, and the only place for a sidewalk on Winter is this side, so, I can't see your point though.
But I'm just,
Where's the sidewalk go that goes down Winter Street?
We'll get to that.
Oh,
So we're coming along behind this wall, there's some some trees in here that may be impacted that I didn't specifically call out. They're in the right of way, and they could be significant trees, so we'll have to, I guess I'm putting it out to you folks as to how you'd like to,
Well,
how you'd like to.
okay, so we've gotten to the point where it's not enough to be partly in the street. You're gonna have to cut down trees.
There's not enough room to be between the wall and the street.
No,
You're saying that we're
Well,
on
to
the
move
right
the
side of the
wall.
wall.
now we're gonna be on the inside of the wall.
Inside of the wall.
What's inside, this side?
No, the south
That side?
Yes.
Well, you said that the property owner, it hates it.
She's gonna hit it, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's in the right of way.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, and this overhang here, that's what Nina Danforth was talking about with the leaves or whatever thing at town meeting.
Well, so far, we're not cutting down any trees. When
No.
do we start cutting down trees?
So small ones along here.
Small ones on the other side of the wall.
But nothing bigger than, I think,
We're trying to avoid the big ones like this.
Now, what happens here?
it's on the other side of the
On the
wall.
other
Still
side
on
of
the
the
other
wall.
side?
We're on the inside of the wall.
So you.
The trees are actually very minimal on the inside of the wall.
So you presumably do some replacement vegetation for that landowner,
Some screening.
because they'll be losing it,
Yeah.
you know. So that go on the south side of the sidewalk, would be, you know, there should be,
Screening.
there should be a plan for some screening.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we're
It's
staying
still on the right of the
on
wall.
the right of the
Right of the
wall.
wall.
Now, are you still in the right of way?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge
Yeah,
right of way.
The whole way along here.
I think because of the mass pipe, for some reason, there was a huge right of way.
Is that driveway lamp, post lamp in the right of way?
Probably.
Yeah.
So when you're in the right of way, the property owner cannot stop the sidewalk.
They can complain, but legally they can't stop it. So, to the best of my knowledge,
Wow, but it's gonna look like you're walking right through their front yard.
yes. But that's not, but that also occurs like on the sidewalks on Wellesley Street. I mean, it's
Merriam.
similar.
And if it hasn't been a sidewalk, then it's obviously, you know, they've been sort of like assuming that space.
But that's typical of a lot of things when things
True.
happen in the right of way. I mean, you have to make a decision, what's the most important and what's the biggest benefit for the town and for the kids.
Okay, what about all those?
Yeah, what about the trees on the right of the stone wall there? What happens to
Those
those?
are in harm's way.
Okay.
Are they in the right of way? All of
They're
them?
in the right.
Because
of way.
they're pretty substantial trees.
We can't get through them, we can't get around them?
Well,
So
could
might
back
be
up
able-
could you back up a little,
You
Steve?
might be able to do a little
There
something.
there are like 3 or 4 of them.
So on Highland Street, they did a second stone wall on the interior, so it didn't feel like you were in the yard of somebody.
Yeah. But we're gonna lose all those trees right there.
Well, I don't know, are the trees, can we go to the right of the trees without taking them? Is the right of way big enough?
Those ones haven't been specifically rotated like some of the large ones have, but not the ones on the other side.
Because the right of way is pretty far, I think we might even be able to go on the other side of those trees.
Okay.
Is this happening this summer, by the way?
I'm hoping.
All right. And so, okay, and what about, is that a telephone pole or a tree? Just to the right of the big tree there behind
Those
the
are all
stone wall?
trees.
Those are trees. yeah.
That one's also
But I think there also,
right over
I think you have enough room to go round to the south side, because the right of way is so large.
What we can do is, when we get closer to the point where we want to submit something formally, we can stake it out, we can stake, and then do a walk.
Yeah.
Now that the weather's,
You'll lose a lot of brush in there.
Yeah.
Still on the right of the stone
There
wall?
is
Yeah.
there was a utility pole that we just passed.
But we're on the other side of it. We're
So you'll go around.
we're on the other side of the wall.
Right, but
Steve, I didn't hear, how wide is the right-of-way?
Right away is like,
How far back from the pavement?
it's about 30 feet back, I don't have my scale.
30.
It's a very large right of way.
Maybe more like 20, it's quite wide on the south
It's a
side
very,
of the road.
it's a very wide right of
from
way.
the pavement edge or from the center of the road?
From the pavement edge.
Okay.
It's a very
There's
large
the edge of
right. it's a
pavement, and the
very-
red line is the,
So that gives you a lot of,
There's
a lot of variation to
Right.
avoid
Trees.
trees and any other brushes and avoid the cost of
Right.
someone's.
I mean, brushes, I think we're definitely gonna have to take brush down.
the red line is the right of way.
Minimum amount of trees,
Let's check
and
in.
that's the goal.
So we know it's kind of odd to want to put a sidewalk on the inside of, on the property side of the wall. We've had some conversations, or the committee's had some conversations with some of the abutters to try to gain support or get a feel for things. I don't think they've talked with everybody.
No, we've talked with them, actually, we were unable to get into a lot of people on the south side. We knocked on a lot of doors. Most people were supportive on the other side, not everybody was supportive not having it on their side. I mean, the abutters, I think.
Snow removal will be town?
Town.
I just wanted to see where the right-of-way is. So you do have some, is there any reason why you wouldn't pull it
Just
down
just
towards the
because
right?
we'd have to destroy that hedge.
Destroy the
Oh,
hedge of
there's
this
a hedge
property.
there. Okay.
You don't want to
There's
destroy
more
the
to
hedge.
this.
In a few minutes, I'm supposed to be upstairs for
Okay.
conservation.
Okay, so we'll move along. Sorry.
No, that's fine. This is, I can make the video available, or you can certainly go out when the
All right.
weather's nice.
So now there's a house right there.
Right.
And so what happens to that guy's wall?
Well, in this area, this is going to be probably one of the trickier spots, because we're proposing to actually go between the wall and those trees.
Is it possible, this is a question I have, is it possible to put a bridge over a tree root? Like this, I know that one of these trees, there's one tree was a problem, and this is the tree that's a problem, and has a root, and I don't know, I mean, this is the tree, we either, I think, have to put a bridge over the root, or we have to try cutting the root, and we have to cut the tree. This is where we might lose
Which tree?
one tree. I think this
That
is the
one right
second
there.
one.
These two trees, there's not a lot of space between the base of the tree and the wall. It's probably not even 6 feet. So
And
it's
that
going
wall,
to
that wall's not in the right of way?
be, it is in the right of way.
It is. And the right, how far does the right of way go? Past the wall?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
But is that still the town's wall, even though it doesn't look
Can we
like
go on the other side of that wall?
I wouldn't consider it to be the town's wall.
But it is in the right of way.
It's in the
So
right
the
of way.
property owner built that wall
In the right of way.
in the right of way.
Do we have enough room on the other side of this wall to stay inside that wall?
Yeah, well,
We have enough room to stay in the right of way.
On the other side of this wall?
Yeah.
I would say we stay on the other side of the wall. I don't know. What?
Or,
I mean, you're the one that has to sell it, not me.
I know. But I don't know, I mean, it's a question of what we do in terms of, like, the tree. I mean, here it would make more sense to be on this side of the wall, but then we might lose, a tree.
Couldn't you build like a boardwalk, like what you're talking
Well,
about,
that's what
where
I
the
was,
trees
I was
are?
wondering, I don't know.
Even if it has to narrow to 5 feet.
Yeah, we don't have
or-
our vegetation consultant with us tonight, so.
I'll be here later.
What are they? What kind of tree are they? They look like sugar maples to me, but it's hard to tell.
I don't know.
I think the second one is a sugar maple. I think the one in the foreground, the one that's slanted, is actually an old red maple. But that's just my memory of it. But I think there are ways of protecting the roots when you go over them with paving, but it's very, very tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Certainly you don't want to be cutting one, because that'll be the end of it.
If you cut a root.
yeah.
Not these mature trees, that, I don't think they would tolerate any kind of abuse, but
Yeah, it might be worth taking a look at those and see what condition they're
Well,
I think
still, I mean,
I think the closer one's got a huge hollow spot on the street side of it, but it could be a mistake.
but being on the other side of the wall may be the
Or
only
maybe
option.
what would be the possibility of, I know it's cost, but if the wall was to be moved back.
Inside the fence.
I don't
Close to
know.
the right of way, so.
I don't know if the person who built the wall would want to spend
Well, I wonder
money
if
to
they
do
would
that.
be, if you asked them to move it versus being on the other side of it, what they would choose.
Well, but the wall is within the town's right of way, so the town could ask them
doing.
to.
Speak of the devil, here's our landscape consultant.
We've been waiting for you.
I'm gonna have to go, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to get to
Okay.
That'd be unexpected.
The rest of
we,
it,
we didn't make it. We didn't make it to Wellesley Street.
Another time, I'll come back.
But that's, the plan is to go up this side, the south side of Brown Street, right? All the way out to
Wellesley.
Wellesley Street.
Yeah.
And then also on Winter Street to go on the west side of Winter Street from Brown to Dixon Meadows.
Question, Kim. Oh, you have to take your computer?
Well, I don't have to. You can leave it for now if you like.
Because maybe Peter could drive the car.
Yeah, you can drive.
How do I drive the car? I'm not, what?
Press the play button.
Where's the play button?
I think it's the button on the right.
This
No,
one?
it's right
See
at
the-
the bottom, bottom center.
Oh,
Before you
touch this?
before you
Just hit it with your.
Oh, okay.
Before you do that,
Yes?
we just wanted to ask Kim, they were asking if you're, this is all about adding a sidewalk to the south side of Brown Street.
Bring that up, bring that up.
And we're no, those are actually different trees. But if it's getting really close to a tree and the roots are kind of the ground, can you build like a boardwalk or kind of a bridge to protect the roots?
I think it's a matter of ADA accessibility.
Well, if you make it so the boardwalk is still ADA accessible, but you have to make it so it's not too much of an angle for ADA
Do
accessibility.
you mean like a true
The-
boardwalk?
to-
Yeah,
protect the
it
roots.
shows you Dodge City.
But the tree root, one of the trees has a
Or
big
something.
root. Like the idea is maybe, I don't know if you can cut the root?
No.
No, definitely not.
Okay. so
Is there
the name is that-
gravel protection around the root or
Or
something?
putting a wooden boardwalk over it that's ADA compliant to go over the root.
It's going to be real specific to this
Yeah.
What?
the site.
Do you know what type of trees they are? How do I go back?
We don't have
Maybe
it.
the arrow up on
Don't
the
worry
upper
about it.
left.
Where?
See the arrow on the upper left?
No, I wouldn't fool with it because we'll never get there.
Well,
You mean that one right there?
That one, yes, the
What?
one on the far left. There.
That one. What happens if you press that?
Oops.
Whoa, all the way back to the beginning.
All right, now we see? All right. Oh, he was driving pretty fast.
You can go faster than 20.
What?
You can go faster than 20.
You're turning the radio on.
All right, so we're driving. I don't know how to stop the car.
We're good.
I think if you move your cursor,
What?
if you move your cursor to that area, you see
Oh, the pause.
there's a pause button.
Okay.
So this is where the sidewalk would go along here?
Yes.
Yeah, on the right. Goes to the right.
Right along the road.
And what's the width of the sidewalk again?
6 feet. It cuts behind this utility pole. And it comes back to the street here.
And then over here, we may have to ask Whiteman for a right of way to go behind the pole,
And then back in front of the fire hydrant.
back in front of the fire hydrant.
Does it have to be 6 feet? It seems
That's 80. That's 88, I think.
I thought ADA was 5.
I
No
thought
matter
it was 5.
If it's 5, then we'll make it 5, whatever the ADA requirement is.
That sign moves.
The sign moves. And then that pole, we're going to see if we can ask Jack, who's very pro sidewalks, we can go behind his pole.
Now we're in the street. We're taking
Now
part
we're
of
in the street, right. Now, we're going to start going into the street so we save those bushes. We're going to narrow the road.
Is there a curb on the street side of the
Yes.
sidewalk?
Notice how he didn't stop for the stop sign.
Yeah, you did.
He did. Don't get my guy in trouble. So now we're coming
Behind the
we're
stone
coming
wall.
behind the
Over
stone
to the
wall.
right. Okay.
You're coming behind the stone wall.
Needs a little work.
And that neighbor's not.
And that neighbor
That's
is
a
dead
right
set
away.
against it.
Oh dear.
But it's a right of way.
And that big oak.
Yeah.
That we're behind the
On
wall.
the other side of the wall.
On the other side of the wall.
So
Now here's where we get into trouble. No, we're still
All
behind
these
the
trees on
wall.
the right have to get cut down.
Stop, that was the question.
Uh-oh, we don't know how to go backwards though.
But that's these were these were the trees that are, no, the
No,
ones
it was
further
further
down.
up.
No, we're on
These
the
ones
other
you're just
side.
going behind because you got a big
Going
right of way.
behind.
We're still behind the wall.
Yeah.
And there's no
That's
root
right.
issues even on,
No.
behind the wall? Okay.
Not that I know.
But you don't know
I,
that, so.
let me clarify that. Not that I'm aware.
There's
of.
like little trees back there.
So now we're coming up.
the
This
tree
is where
that's
it-
at an angle is.
This is where it gets dicey.
This is where it gets dicey.
But slow down now.
Stop.
Stop. Those two trees
They're talking about going
we
back
go a
clear
little
now.
further.
are a problem.
The stone wall is in.
What kind of trees
on
are
town
those?
land.
Maples.
You don't know?
I can't tell from that.
No,
Come
Nina
on,
said,
you can't tell.
I think they're sugar maple.
That's what you know.
one's a red maple, apparently the other's a sugar maple.
Okay.
That's because she knows the trees. It's not-
Are we getting
Just was
closer? Can you
remembering.
tell now?
It's really hard to tell.
I'm sure Google knows, we can just Google that.
But that's the one that they're talking about doing the special
Right,
side.
right.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, if we could take a look at get out there, look at
Yeah.
the condition they're in. Maybe they're not, if they have a 10-year life expectancy.
Right.
Maybe,
Remove it.
Well, if the guy's gonna move the stone wall off town property, there's gonna be plenty of room there.
you want supporters. Seems to me, I don't know.
So
I'm just saying.
how does it work when you have a stone wall on town property and you've had it there more than 20 years?
Well, I don't
Well,
think it's
there's been lots,
constructive.
I'll just give you an example. There's a guy on Wellesley Street whose fence is on the property, on the right of way. And he's been battling with the town for years, and he told me that he's gonna get the Attorney General involved. So, just imagine how it is with a wall.
Yeah, I'm sure she's gonna get involved while she's running for governor.
Right. Well, I told the guy's like 93 years old. I said, don't hold your breath.
Adverse possession, you can't get adverse possession from public land.
Okay, that was my question. Thank
You get
you.
it from
Well,
private.
I'm just telling you my experience, so. But
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not going to happen. But you don't want to bully people into moving their walls. I mean, even if you
Right.
have the legal right to do it, because you don't want to have people standing up at town meeting saying that the stormtroopers have come and. So if there's a way not to do it, that would be the.
Does this go back to town meeting, or didn't she already get the
no,
money?
well, so there is no more town meeting. It's been
We already
approved
voted
at town
this
meeting.
money in.
Well,
But-
don't you have to get the funds approved to?
The funds are approved.
They approved it.
construct I
No,
mean,
the funds have been approved for this. This has been approved by town meeting.
Yeah.
I thought the design funds were approved.
No,
The
this was,
construction
this,
funds are approved?
no, this, everything was approved. We have there's $100,000 of sidewalk money and $250,000 was approved from the CPC for Brown Street. There's $350,000 that has been approved by the town.
Okay, well, then you can be a stormtrooper.
Yes.
Okay.
But you still don't want to piss, you want to.
No, but you're in a bargaining position because they have the
Right.
wall on town land.
Right, no, I'm saying we do have the bargaining position because we're on town land. And the money, the money for Brown Street has been approved at town meeting.
Okay.
So you don't have to go back to town meeting for this.
All right, you don't. Good.
Did it start driving?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Approve that too.
Okay.
So what happens here?
We have a
Well,
fence.
Steve took the
across-
plans. I don't know exactly where the sidewalk goes, to be honest with you.
I think that those trees look like they're gonna have to come
Or
down.
the fence has to be moved off.
Or the fence, I mean, I don't know if it's, I don't know, well, actually, I don't, you might be able to go in between the trees.
Yeah.
I just have a question. Your utilities are on the other side.
Yeah.
Have you
They switched.
determined that you couldn't put the sidewalk where the utilities are?
What happened was, the reason why I originally wanted the sidewalk from here to cross and go the other side. And what happened was, is because the traffic light at Brown Street, at the end of Brown Street, the right of way is bad, it goes right to the property line of the owner. And we tried to get the owner to swap land with us, and
Yeah, so
They
you
said-
tried and it didn't work out.
no way. Because there's, not only that, is the land is really flat there, and I thought we could push the sidewalk further away, because the right-of-way is actually pretty wide until near the very end. And to cross over and cross
You don't have
over.
any trees over there.
What?
I mean, here, the vegetation
All
gets
the-
more and more.
I wanted to actually switch over to the other side at this point. But because of the landowner at the very end, they wouldn't budge and they wouldn't swap land. If they swap, the town has tons of land on the Wellesley Street side that they can do like a swap.
Why
and
does it have to cross at an intersection?
What?
Can it cross above an intersection? Does it have to cross at an intersection?
Well, you'd have to cross I mean, you'd have to have so many crossings in the middle of the road. It just wasn't really feasible. I wanted it on the other side, but it just, at least from the church, the Greek church down,
Yeah.
I was actually going to have it cross, but we had a big problem at the end.
Well, it's too bad, because just in general, you know, if you keep the paving the same side as the utilities, you're going to naturally take out fewer trees. And Brown Street is just so,
I agree with you.
it's losing its charm
I agree.
rapidly.
Well, Nina, if you want to go talk to that landowner.
Sure, I will.
And
I'll
get
do it.
them to agree to the land swap, that would solve a lot of problems.
So it's the last one on the left.
The last one on the left. I think it's the Yees. And she said first to me, yes, and then I guess he said no.
And where would you cross, right here?
I would cross right by the Greek Orthodox Church.
Have we gotten there yet?
I think it's on
Yeah,
right on
that's
the
it,
left.
right where
yeah.
the white sign is.
It's right, and that would, you know, that.
I don't think that there's that big a problem if you do a second crossing. It's not ideal, but even if you can't get that.
Well, this, you know, there you come, you have to be careful with, again, like you were talking about crossings in the middle of the road, where it's not an intersection, sight lines, and it gets
People
more
tend to
tricky.
move down the street.
What?
They tend to drive.
And they drive
they're
very
doing
fast,
20 miles an hour on this
very
road.
fast down the street. I mean, I do want to actually put a crosswalk a little further down to go, because there's a preschool or whatever at the church, so I do want to put a crosswalk coming up to go
You'd
across.
think the church would be in favor of having a sidewalk on that
Church
side.
was fine. I spoke to the church. The church was like, "Oh, we've been waiting for this for years." They were like, "Build it now."
Is there a big savings if you stayed on the east side?
I think there's some savings because we're going to come up, there's a hill, and so I think it makes it a little more complicated to be on that side, and so I think it is a little more expensive. I think there will be more of an expense. I mean, I prefer it on the other side. We've had this whole discussion, and not been easy. So I'll keep driving. So I think you can go between the tree, actually. I think you don't have to take it down. And then you basically stay on the side. And
What
I think
happens
the church
here?
is... What?
What happens here now?
I think now we get closer to the
Are
street.
you outside this, on the right of the trees?
I think now we're back along the...
So now you're just cutting down the trees. 'Cause
well,
you just-
I don't think there are any trees to cut down.
No?
No. I think it's wide
You
enough.
think you could fit the sidewalk in there without cutting down
Yeah,
any of those?
yes, yeah. I think there's more than 5 feet, more than 6 feet. There's room. You might have to cut brush down, going down towards the hill. And again, I want to put a crosswalk, like right around here, to go to the Greek church. That would be my plan. I think the sight line is fine, distance from the curve, to going back towards Winters.
So there's going to be some grading there on the right-hand
The
side.
grading is going to start coming up.
Yeah, that's good. That's pretty extensive, that grading.
Yeah, this is like
What are you going to
long
do,
sidewalk.
retaining walls or?
Must be about as work.
I have to ask the engineer for that. I think there's still room even though the tree's leaning over.
Right side is much more.
I know.
It is.
Yeah.
I wanted it so much more on the other side.
Wow.
A lot more snow also, because it's
Yeah.
north facing, it's
Shady.
very cold on the north
Right,
side.
right.
So the little children walking to school, they're going to get freezing on that
Yeah, let
side,
them
Well-
walk on the sunny side of the street.
right?
There's a
It
song
was my preference all along, but
There's a lot of grading here. You need a retaining wall or something.
This is good.
This is expensive.
Is
This
it?
is going to
Yeah.
start to cost some real money.
I can talk to them about, moving it, going across. I don't know what the biggest problem is at the end. I want it to go up the hill, but the hill is, it's too steep and too full of really thick brush, and I thought it'd be much prettier, but then they were worried about safety for kids walking up the hill not being as visible.
But then you have to get the little snowplow to go up there and over it. No.
Yeah,
And
well,
some
it's-
wheelchairs and things.
You know, I was hoping the grade wasn't, it is
Very
gradual
steep.
going
Yeah.
up, and it's a little steeper coming down, and it gets really thick brush up there. It's like I put on snowshoes and I walked up, and then I couldn't walk any further because it was so thick.
I'll talk to Mrs. Yee. She's my next door neighbor because I'm off to the right there.
Well, if you want to talk to her,
Mr. Yee.
that would make
She walks her dogs with me. It would be so much better to have the sidewalk on their side
She's the impediment.
and jogging. Everybody
This-
goes to the left.
I mean, I don't, he took the map, but their property line, they can get a huge piece of parcel that would make their parcel even bigger, I think worth more, but
Absolutely.
we
You
just,
mean a trade?
a trade of
Yeah.
like, and they can just have a really
Maybe
nice.
they didn't understand English.
Well, if you're willing to talk to them, I mean, one of the guys on the committee is also friends with them, and they were like,
Oh, dear.
and so, I mean, it would, personally, it's so much easier to build it on the other side of the street at this point. Do a crossover by the church and go, it's so much better.
We'll see.
Could be the most expensive sidewalk in town. that thing.
Well, you know,
Goodness.
something that I went, you know, you talked about Merriam Street, and I went and looked at Merriam Street the other day, and I talked about a complicated short sidewalk. There's a section, not all of it, but there's a section where going over the river, and I don't know, it may not be feasible. I mean, I don't know how you build a bridge over
Troubled
a
water.
river, a stream.
She's not an engineer.
What?
She's the landscaper.
Oh, she's just.
She's not answering questions about bridges.
So, and I mean, this side, I think is, I mean, there's enough room when the snow's melting and stuff, and we're not taking out the trees, but it's, you know, it's complicated.
It's not great on the left side now either.
So,
No, but the thing is, on the left side, the land, I wanted to go, I wanted to go in the woods. Because it would be a little prettier, and there's no big trees, and you can sort of stay away from the roadway there, and then and then you can end up right at, it comes down gradually over there. So I think if you go up into the hill, it's a gradual hill. You can be away from the road, it'd be a prettier walkway, and it's still visible where the kids would be seen.
so I got a question. Way back, you said at one point that you're going to have to sort of skirt into the road.
Yes.
Does that mean you're going to shift the road
Yes.
slightly? And so why can't you do that at the end here next to the east property? Come into the road
I don't know
and
if
shift the road a little bit.
I mean, I think it's complicated with the light. I think the problem is if you shift the
Well, the
road.
light's not there yet, right?
No, but
Yeah, it's right.
let me
close.
finish. So if you shift the road this way, part of the problem with the road to begin with is that it's already off kilter. If you shift the road this way, it's going to be even more off kilter, which makes it even a more difficult intersection. You know, one of the things that saves us money on and hopefully going to town meeting versus spending $700,000 versus $350,000 or $60,000 is that we're not going to align the intersection. If you further misalign the intersection, it makes the traffic situation even more complicated. So if you take part of the roadway and shift the cars more, you got a little bit of a traffic problem. You already have a traffic problem, but it makes it worse. And so that's why that didn't come into discussion.
All right, but it's not completely off the table.
It's not, well, it's
If
pretty
if our
off.
hero over here can't get them to go along with it, I mean, there's so much more problem. You have so much more problem on the south side of
Put it this way,
road.
I'll bring it up to the committee.
Well, in light of the
Right.
enormous amount of problems in grading and engineering and building walls,
Right.
retaining walls on the south side.
Listen, I had that was my initial thought, and we went to, I mean, Jay went
And you're not
to,
going to have any place to put the snow if
but
you have a retaining wall.
we never discussed what you just brought up, so I'll bring it up to the committee.
Okay.
I think if you have to go back to town meeting and ask for more money for the sidewalk, that's going to be an interesting conversation.
I don't think, well, you know, I mean, I don't know, you know,
Back in it.
I don't know how much those walls cost. I don't know.
A lot. I mean, you're not gonna be making them out of concrete. If there's stone retaining walls, they're not cheap.
Wood?
Wood?
No.
Wood, plastic, wood, what is that?
Plastic.
No.
Doesn't look good, that's not.
Look, Peter.
I have no idea. I mean, I this is, yeah.
No, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have to ask the engineers what it would cost and
Yeah.
what they say it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I certainly will bring back to the committee the idea that you just brought up.
Yeah, you've got a ways to go.
Actually, I'd like you to put all the power lines underground too. If that's a,
The other, you know,
I don't think you want to
No,
take
talk-
that back.
talk-
How about some drainage?
talking about
That's what you
the,
need.
talking about the power lines, I mean, I don't want to be the one to do it, but I've been trying to get us to do the power lines underground at the town center and use CPC money for that.
Yeah.
Because I think that would make the town center look pretty.
No,
Because at one,
absolutely.
what?
It would if it were an appropriate use of CPA funds.
Well, I think you can, because at one point in the.
Okay, wait a minute, different conversation. Different
Hey,
conversation.
he brought it up.
I know.
Don't blame
I'm a
me.
troublemaker. I'm
So
sorry.
don't, so go on here again where, you know, there are, I think there's grading issues. And then you're at this intersection. I don't know if he continues on to Winter, does he?
No.
Be back at the
Suddenly.
Now, how do I do this? Is it?
I think you just turn it off, unless you.
No, but how do we get to, how
Can you back up?
Press
How-
escape.
escape? Now, where's
Where's the off button?
where's Winter? Is this Winter?
Oh, we're going down Winter Street?
Up Winter Street.
Is this Winter? How do I do this?
No.
Oh,
How do I get this? Does anybody know how to do this stuff?
No.
You clicked on it, nothing happened.
Winter Street
Winter
is.
Street
There you go.
intersection.
Yeah, but how do I get?
And press play.
Oh wait,
Right,
oh, wait a
let's
minute.
make it
Oh, you're
clear.
right. Here's the play button.
Right, but I think
Oh,
you're
not
back
that
to
one.
Brown.
You're
Not
on
that
one.
Brown Street now.
Yeah.
I think it's a different
It's a different
file,
file.
and it's not there.
In other words,
This
those
is
are all
not Winter
stages.
Street.
No, that's Brown Street.
Brown.
I
That-
think that's
that's-
right. That's all different phasing of the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he's
everything on the
gonna.
right
Maybe he's
is-
gonna turn. I mean, because it says Winter. Maybe he's gonna turn.
No, it's just.
This is Brown Street.
This is Brown, but maybe he's gonna turn.
We didn't turn before.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, just wait a second.
No, this
What
is the
happens
same
is that
thing.
cursor is going to go over wherever it is. So now we're at Winter Street. So it
Yes.
indicates that. It just keeps continuing
Keeps going. It's
Yeah,
a
the
different
only-
file.
Different file. You're right.
Could you scroll down? There might be something below that. There's nothing to scroll.
Yeah,
There we
good
go.
idea.
But that's just a continuation, I think, of the same thing.
Yeah, that's the end.
Yes.
That's not it.
No.
It is a different file. So it says on the very top Brown Street, and I'm sure the other one will say Winter Street.
Right.
See in the upper left corner where the blue,
Yeah.
and that
Yep.
arrow right there.
Below that.
Below that.
No.
Above.
No.
No, you were very close.
You were right on
Warmer,
it.
you get
You were right on
warmer,
it.
you get colder.
No.
The
To
blue one,
left.
the
To
blue
the
one.
left of home,
that's
to the left
down.
of home.
No.
I mean,
Right.
I'm not a
Right.
computer geek, so.
Right here.
Yeah, see what that,
Movie maker.
Winter, wait, wait, yeah. Winter Street.
there you
Winter
go.
Street.
Here it is.
And just press play.
Here you go.
I'm not.
So where's the sidewalk on this
Thank
one?
you, Ron.
Again, so the
On right
sidewalk,
side?
to the best of my knowledge, see, I don't have his map. I know it, at one point, he comes around, it's in there, and I think,
It's the south side.
and then I know we have to get, we have
The
to.
west, I'm
West
sorry,
side.
west side.
Yeah.
You're on the other side of the stone
I think
wall.
we're on the other side of the stone wall, because we have to get it right away from Whiteman, to the
Okay.
best of my knowledge.
And what about all those trees along the stone wall? On the other side of those too, or?
You know something, I honestly, I don't know exactly where he's got this going, but I think we try and avoid trees.
Whiteman
Which
owns all the
direction?
sand here?
Whiteman
It
owns,
looks like we're going south.
yeah, we're going towards
Yes.
Winter, and then now
Over
now
the
we're
pike.
on this side of the, of the,
Now it's a teeny tiny
That's the
set.
pike.
it's
Now we're
the
going-
pike.
We're gonna go the other side of the
We're going-
guardrail.
But it's
No,
5 feet, I
it's-
think.
Yeah. There's 5 feet this
No.
side of the guardrail.
And then we go over the bridge,
And there's the sidewalk.
and there's a
But
sidewalk.
that's like a 3-footer.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think it's more than 3 feet.
I don't think so.
You have to expand it then for ADA?
I don't
Can
know.
Put a new bridge in.
He's going awfully fast.
He's spending money like a man.
Wow.
Well, we have
That's how college traffic is on that
we have
bridge all around.
$350,000.
We probably got like that first section from Weymouth to the corner.
And then we're in
I don't see
discussion,
how this one works.
and we're in discussions with Winter Gardens, these and stuff. We're in discussions with Winter Gardens to coordinate, because they want to build it so that and they're going to give us, I guess, to connect with some sidewalk that they're doing. They're redoing the front of their property.
Yeah, but looks like we lose a lot of trees on this one.
I think we don't.
No?
Yeah. I think we don't.
Okay.
The goal is not.
Good.
Well,
I'm going to say that's
it's a
like
good start, and obviously there's more to it.
I'll bring up and I'll let the committee know what your suggestion was, but if you can speak to the Yees and get more successful than we did, let me know. Do you want my card?
Sure.
We'll take all the help we can get, because that would make a big difference if we can do that.
Great, thank you, Peter.
And I thank the committee for the time
Thank you.
and energy, and I'll bring this up to Steve. Thank you.